semantic property of free choice indefinites is that they express freedom of choice. Any is the most famous and well-studied free choice indefinite. See an example like take any guard. Although the distributional properties of free choice items have been extensively studied in the last years, there has been no systematic account on their acquisition. And this is surprising, of course, if one encounters the morphological variety of these items in the languages of the world. Actually, this is the topic of our talk. In this talk, we will discuss our findings regarding the acquisition of free choice items in a language like Greek. So the literature on the acquisition of quantification and scalar implicatures is very interesting. Children acquire quite late scalar implicatures associated with quantification. They have the tendency to interpret existential quantifiers as universals. See, for instance, Noveck, 2001, Papafragou and Musolino, 2003, Smith, 1980. Moreover, in a more recent account, Thieu et al., 2015, have argued that the acquisition of scalar implicatures becomes harder when relevant alternatives are not provided by the context. The tight relation between quantification and free choice indefinites is famous in the literature on free choice items. See, for instance, Dayal, 1998, and Cantman and Landman, 1993. As you see in 1 and 2, our famous witness, any, can be paraphrased like O in 2 FCIs, but we deal with subset FCIs as a group and compare their acquisition to full set FCIs. So the combination of the results of the literature on the acquisition of quantification and scalar implicatures, and also on the acquisition on the role that the relevant alternatives play on the acquisition of scalar implicatures, allows us to make the following 2 predictions. First, there is a difference in the acquisition of full set and subset FCIs too. And second, the acquisition of FCIs becomes harder when relevant alternatives are not provided by the context, even in the case of adults. To test both predictions, we set up an experiment with 2 written tasks with sentences to investigate the tendencies in the acquisition of Greek free choice items. Moreover, we made sure that the sentences in both tasks were short and deprived of context. As you see, we had 154 participants, 120 children, and 34 adults, and they were all monolingual native speakers of Greek. So we had 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and 11-year-olds, pupils from the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th grade. And on the table, you can see the minimum and the maximum group. Task A was a sentence completion task. We had 60 sentences with gaps, 30 with a full set FCI as a target item, and 30 sentences with a subset FCI as the target item. As you see below, in 3, the target item, οποιονδήποτε, θα έπρεπε να ξέρεις ότι εγώ σ' αγαπώ περισσότερο από οποιονδήποτε άλλο. You should know that I love you more than anybody else. And of course, the subset FCI, όποιο και όποιο, is out. Θα έπρεπε να ξέρεις ότι εγώ σ' αγαπώ περισσότερο από όποιον και όποιον άλλο. In 4, we see that the target item is a subset FCI, like ένας οποιοσδήποτε or οποιοσδήποτε and όποιος και όποιος. Εγώ δεν είμαι ο οποιοσδήποτε, εγώ δεν είμαι όποιος και όποιος, είμαι ο καλύτερός σου φίλος. As far as task B is concerned, it was a sentence comprehension and selection task with 40 pairs of sentences. In each pair, one sentence always had a full set FCI and the other a subset FCI. In 5, you see a sentence in which a full set FCI is the target item and ένας οποιοσδήποτε is problematic. Remember that the full set FCI, that οποιοσδήποτε is a full set FCI and ένας οποιοσδήποτε is a subset FCI. Οποιοσδήποτε μαθητής έχει τσάντα, any pupil has a school bag, ένας οποιοσδήποτε μαθητής έχει τσάντα, which is weird in Greek. Now, let's move on to our results. First, regarding group comparisons. The X-square values given in the table that you see on the slide are the results of the Kraskov-Wallis testings that show that there is a significant difference among all groups in each task. For examples, the adults as a group reached 44.41 out of 60 in task A and 31.65 for task B. This table indicates actually that fourth graders had the worst performance compared to the rest of the groups. Adults scored higher than the rest of the groups, while, at least for task A, fifth graders and sixth graders performed almost equally good. Moving on to our next slide. This table shows that the results of for the statistical testing Mann-Whitney U-test. Actually, this is a stepwise comparison between different couples of groups. In this case, of all possible pairings, of course. The important results are the ones that are 0.000 or 0.001. Based on these statistically significant differences, we reach the following conclusions. There is a significant difference between fourth graders and adults, and between adults and all children in our group. Now, as you see in our last table, which is a summary table, what we see here, we see the statistical testings regarding full set versus subset FCIs. This shows that the mean scores of correct answers given by each group to each kind of item in each task these scores actually show significant difference between the mean correct answers for full set versus subset FCIs. For the first task, the best score in either full set or subset FCIs was 30, while it is 20 for task B. So we have significant results, which is indicated by the p-values, which are almost 0. So we conclude that there is an important difference between full set and subset FCIs, even in the case of adults. Going back to our predictions, remember first prediction, there is a difference in the acquisition of full set and subset FCIs too. Our finding is that full set FCIs are acquired earlier than subset FCIs. 9, 10, and 11-year-old children tend to use and comprehend sentences with full set FCIs over sentences with subset FCIs more easily. The acquisition of sentences with subset FCIs becomes better as age progresses, but it is not adequate yet at the age of 11. Our explanation is that the not all implicature associated with subset but not with full set FCIs causes problems to children. Prediction 2. The acquisition of FCIs becomes hard when relevant alternatives are not provided by the context, even in the case of adults. Our finding is that although the acquisition of subset FCIs progresses with the age, subset FCIs are sometimes difficult for adults too. Our explanation is that errors were most probably caused by participants' inability to retrieve the alternatives in question from context. Remember, we made sure that all sentences that we used were deprived of context and their form was very short. Thank you.
So if someone has a question, please raise their hand at the participants tab.
I'm here, waiting for questions.
So,
okay, sorry about
Hi,
that.
William.
And I'm trying to get the technology to work. No, I missed some key points, I'm afraid, and I wonder if the presenters could say a bit more about the different types of free choice items and maybe how they fit into the broader typology of free choice items across languages, or even within languages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
you can do it. Yeah.
The criterion for the distinction of between full set and subset FCIs is a semantic one. So basically, as you see here, I don't know whether you can see. Yeah, full set FCIs are associated with universal quantification. So here we have in English the famous any example, while subset FCIs are associated with existential quantification, the famous just any example. So if we go back here in the examples, in the English examples, any student can solve this problem. Here we have all students can solve this problem. Why we cannot say I did not talk with all students as a paraphrasis to I did not talk to just any student. So basically, we say here that any is behaves like a full set FCI, while just any as a subset FCI. And we have equivalences of these types of items in the languages of the world, as in Greek, as in French, and other languages.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think the crucial evidence to the child is for identifying the correct type of, so if the child has figured out, well, first, how the child figures out in the first place that a word is functioning as a free choice item, or free choice indefinite, but then figuring out which type. What are your thoughts about that, I wonder?
There are, would you like to do it, Evie?
No, Spyridoula, please.
Okay, you can add things. So there are morphological differences. Okay, so subset FCIs have, for example, a determiner, either the definite or the indefinite, and also a subset 2 FCIs use a different item. So it's opios kopios instead of opios dipote. Full set FCIs do not have a determiner. So there are differences, okay? However, these differences at this stage, at least, are not, I don't know how to say, they are not enough to basically make children distinguish between the two.
Right. Ah, interesting. Thank you.